you all here this afternoon. This is, as most of you know, the very first official event of our celebration of 100 years of Presbyterians along the coast side. On July 24th, 1910, the Presbyterian Church of Solana Beach was dedicated and chartered, meaning that the building that we now know as the Little Brown Church was dedicated as a Presbyterian church, and the congregation itself was chartered with 3 session members and 3 members of the Board of Trustees. It was an official congregation of the Presbytery of San Francisco. We've had a lot of history since then, and you're going to be hearing more about that as we go through the next couple months. When we started meeting about 3 years ago to talk about how are we going to celebrate this anniversary, one of the very first things we knew is that we had to celebrate it with music. Music has been a significant part of the life of St. Andrew since way before it was St. Andrew, since the congregation was very first constituted. In fact, we have from the Coastside Comet, the newspaper that was sort of the predecessor of the Pacifica Tribune, there was a report on the constituting and dedication of the Presbyterian Church 100 years ago. And this is what the article said. The morning address ably delivered by the Reverend Dr. Fisher made plain the necessity for striving for the perfection of act and for thinking perfection. Now, note that because you're not going to hear that from me in a couple of minutes. Perfection, no. It was very greatly enjoyed by all present. The music furnished by Miss A. Withnow of San Francisco, who brought with her a quartet of superb voices, Mrs. Leroy Pierce, Miss A. Paramino, Mr. W. Colborough, and Mr. Hankey, was a continual source of delight. Through the generosity of Sherman and Clay Company, a melodious organ graced the occasion. So I want you to note in that they have 3 sentences about the music and 1 sentence about the preacher. And that's probably appropriate. Through the years, through all the records that we found about the history of the church, over and over again, what we noted was the role that music played. In the 1940s, the Sunday evening service was a service of song and prayer. The big news in 1945 was the induction into the army of the choir master, and it caused quite a flack because the church wondered how they were going to survive without him. In 1967, 3 women from the Pedro Valley Presbyterian Church, which had organized about 10 years earlier, formed a choir for the children. Well, I could go on, but and I will at some point, you'll hear all of this, but you can see how important music has been for us and how blessed we have been with the superlative musical talent in our congregation. You're going to see that as we go through our program, and the wonderful leadership that we've had from our professional music staff. Today, as we celebrate that part of our church history and life, we want to acknowledge some milestones in our church's history. And as I inform you about those, I'm going to ask Susan Johns, who is the chair of our personnel committee, to come forward. Today, we're making a special point of celebrating 20 years of service and sublime music by our pianist and organist, Matthew Edwards. Celebrating a year late, 15 years of service by our music director, Kathy Jennerette. And we're celebrating that with a little bit of anxiety, the imminent graduation of Bill O'Neill, who assured me that he is going to graduate on Friday from the San Francisco Conservatory of Music.
To the minute. Well, we're going to take just one more minute and ask Kathy for you to come up to the front. And Bill to the front also, and Matthew. This session of the church really wanted to acknowledge these milestones. And so the first one we have is for Matthew. We have a plaque that says, "In appreciation of 20 years of musical excellence and dedicated service, the St. Andrew Presbyterian Church." And next for Kathy, we have one that says, "In appreciation of 16 years of outstanding musical leadership, St. Andrew Presbyterian." Bill, we wanted to also acknowledge your graduation. It's such a really important event. Also to let everybody know that he will be having his graduate recital this Wednesday at 8 o'clock at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music. So anyone who would like to attend that, it would be a wonderful event. We have a card for you from the secretary. Invite everybody after this is over that we do have anniversary cake for Matthew and Kathy out in the annex in Reedon Hall, excuse me, and we have a graduation cake for Bill. Thank you.
And now I hope you enjoy this evening. It's a wonderful potpourri of talent.
Thank you.